Okay, it's time for another convenience meal or a meal in a jar, and it is going to be a chicken stew type thing. Welcome back, friends. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you are having a good day. Today it is going to be a chicken stew type convenience meal. If you're new here, I'm Catherine, the Aerogarden homesteader, and I'm trying out convenience meals. So, this one is it says chicken stew, but it does say that you can use it in different ways, like turning it into a chicken pot pie, so I'm sure it could be made into a soup as well. Probably like a gravy. You could thicken up the broth and make a gravy out of it and enjoy it as chicken potatoes. So, I am getting started on the prep work. And I'll zip through this part, obviously, but yeah, you're going to need basically the trinity here. And I forgot to get my celery, of course. Okay, well, I'm dicing everything up. I will zip through this, but I wanted you to kind of see I'm doing small-ish chunks, but probably a little bit bigger than, I mean, you want something bite-sized. Oh yeah, I need to measure that. I don't want it to vanish in the jar during processing. I do want to have some texture remaining. So while these are small, they're not microscopic. So it's like a large dice. So I need 1.5 cups of carrots. It does call for mushrooms. That's not happening. I have this thing against canned mushrooms, and I'm not sure if canning them yourself gives them a different texture, but they were like the bane of my childhood, so I am not going anywhere near canned mushrooms. I will probably put in slightly more carrot and celery just to account for the lack of mushrooms, but I'm not gonna do substantial changes to it. Okay, there you go. Slightly more than 1.5 cups. I guess I have a snack for later. We'll start with one stalk and we'll see how that goes. So celery is pretty dirty. You want to make sure you wash that really well. Okay, well apparently I guessed wrong. I guess we will need another stalk. So let's find a small one. Okay, there we go. Save that for later. Okay, I need 1 cup of potatoes. These are literally all of the potatoes I have. They were the red ones that were out in the garden. So I'm going to dice them up and prepare them, but I'm not going to put them in with the, I should probably do the onion first. Actually the onion goes in by itself. Yeah, so these will be fine. I can sit these in the measuring cup. Normally you peel potatoes, and I would peel these, but they are so small that if I peeled them, I probably would have no potatoes left. So I'm just going to go for it. I am again trying to go for something that's bite-sized-ish, but still large enough to have some substance to it. It won't break down during canning. These are the most adorable little potatoes I have ever had. This was literally all that was it from that pot I had out in the garden. I was kind of surprised. I thought that I would get more potatoes than I did, but that's it. I think there was like 3 or 4 like microscopic ones that either just stayed in the pot because they just got lost in the shuffle, or they did make it inside but they were just really small and they went soft fast. So I should probably just go ahead and get like actual seed potatoes next year and give it a try with real, you know, potatoes that are supposed to be grown, not the ones that have been irradiated and, you know, sat in the store forever. Okay, so that looks like that is all it needs. So that's my cup. And then I need 1.5 cups of onion. So I think these onions are too big. I will get 2 cups out of it. It seems about an onion about this size will get you about 1 cup. So what I need to do is see if I can find smaller onions. Okay, there we go. Found a 1/2 cup onion. So I think between the two of these I will get my 1.5 cups of onion. This is the same thing. I'll probably go slightly smaller on the dice on this, but it's not going to be minced. Okay, so while I am getting those chopped up, I am going to get the butter melted. It does call for 3 tablespoons of butter to cook all of the vegetables in. There we go. Okay, so it says to saute the onions for about 3 minutes, and then you're supposed to have the mushroom in at this point as well until they are browned. So I think browning mushrooms takes more than 3 minutes. But once this pick up just a little bit of color, I am supposed to put in the carrots and celery next. If there's any particular convenience meal you'd like me to consider, I can take a look at that. Just leave the name of the recipe below so I can search for it. It would depend if we think we would like it or not. I'm not going to make a recipe that I don't think anyone's going to like, so, you know, I'll take a look at it and see if it's something I can add to the list or not. 'Cause I'm always looking for more things that I can put on the pantry shelf that are sort of convenience meals that we would enjoy eating. It's really hard because, like, nobody really likes jam in my family. Like, what's wrong with my family? So, yeah, I don't make a lot of jams or jellies anymore because of that. I don't make pie fillings because nobody likes pie. I'm hoping my kids will grow out of this phase and then they will start liking pies and jams and things so that I can start making it again. But yeah, the convenience meals, I purposely chose ones that either I would like, and I hope my daughter would like, or that I thought just about everyone would like. My son's a wild card. He does not seem to like anything, so I don't always count him. And I am always pleasantly surprised when he does like something, so that's handy. Okay, so these are just barely picking up a little color. I can see that they're starting to get translucent and just like little tiny bits of color here and there. So I'm going to add the celery and carrots and get those to soften up just a little bit before I add the next set of ingredients. Pretty much says to let it go for about 2 minutes. I might let it go just a smidgy bit longer, but yeah, you don't want to have everything fully cooked because you're going to be cooking it in the canning process. So just mostly you want to get a little color, and the color will help add some flavor. Okay, and while that is going, I will get the chicken diced up. Okay, so at this point I am going to add a quart of broth. It actually asks for 5 cups, but I'm just going to start it with the 4 because I can always add the other one later. This one's already ready to go. So it just says to simmer for about 10 minutes until vegetables are soft. Okay, in the meantime, I am going to dice up some chicken. So I'm using chicken thighs. These are probably some of the ones that I deboned late last year. So we can get it apart. It's still a little frozen. And I will need 3 cups of diced chicken. And again, I am going to go for something that is about bite-sized, give or take. I don't know if that's 2 or 1. That's a really big... Okay, well, I think that's 1. Okay, washed my hands for about the millionth time. Now if there's any really big gobs of fat, I'll try to get those out if I can, just so that it's not leaving a fatty slick on the top of the jar. Okay, and that is cup number 5. Okay, so that was the 5 cups of stock. Now I want to get in a bay leaf, and this all will simmer for about 10 minutes or so until the vegetables are tender, like I said. That looks like a nice one. And continuing on, I need 1 teaspoon of salt. This is canning salt. This is also a ½ teaspoon measure. 2 of those. ½ teaspoon of pepper, and finally 1 cup of dry white wine. There we go. So that needs to simmer for 10 minutes-ish, or until vegetables are tender. So I will see you back here at that point, and we will move on to the next steps. This has been simmering for a while now, so the next part of the instructions are to take out the bay leaf, which I will do, to add the ½ cup of frozen thawed peas, along with the potatoes. Woo! Try to not drop your bowl in there. Now I did not put the potatoes in earlier because I didn't want them breaking down into complete mush. I would like them to have some texture, so that's going to have to warm through a little bit. Now maybe if I had had the Yukon Gold potatoes they might have held up better, but these red ones I don't think they're going to be... I don't want them squishy. I think they're going to get pretty soft. I mean, the peas are going to get pretty soft too. And then finally, my 3 cups of chicken. Let's try to not drop this bowl either. There we go. My jars are warming in the pressure canner. And this says it'll do 6 pint jars. And the last ingredient is 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. There you go. 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. So I'm going to get that warmed up, and then I will start adding it to the jars. Okay, so this is at 3 quarts, so that should be 6 pints, which is what the recipe says. I am going to, now that this is mostly warmed up, I am going to get the jars prepped. They're in the canner right now, warming up, so I will start getting a jar ready and I can start dishing this out. So this will require 1 inch of headspace, kind of like most pressure canning things. The fun part is trying to get everything evenly loaded so that everything has kind of the same amount of broth and chunks, all that good stuff. So that is just slightly more than 1 inch, or just slightly less. Get my handy dandy spoon. Okay, there we go. Now with chicken products it might be worth giving slightly more than 1 inch, just to be a little on the generous side, because I do find that chicken expands before it shrinks. So it is a matter of getting all of these filled in the canner. It will be 75 minutes of canning for this size jar. This is actually the only size jar they recommend for this recipe, so if you wanted bigger jars, you're just going to have to open 2, because they don't recommend changing to a bigger size. They seem to be okay if you want to go smaller, but not bigger. I might be able to get the rest of the chunks in, but I'll have to fish them out in order to do that. And then I'll have just a little bit of broth left over, so actually it worked out pretty good. Lots of onions got stuck to the side though, so it's a bit of a shame on that. Let me see. It looks pretty good. I think I got all the chunks. Oh, there we go. Last of the chunks. And I don't know if you can see, but that is literally all that is left. It's just that little bit and a whole bunch of onions on the side of the pot. And that's not going to waste. I'm going to heat that up to boiling because it did have raw chicken in it. And then I will probably just enjoy it as a pre-dinner snack. Yum yum. Okay, 75 minutes in case I didn't mention that earlier. It only had recommendations for pint jars, and I will show you how this all turns out afterwards and how it tastes. I'm going to try a couple of different things with it because I think some things... Wow, that was interesting. Some things that aren't mentioned in the book probably would go really well with this as well. So stay tuned for that. I am going to be making some potato flake gnocchi today. So this is like something that you can pull out of your pantry and be able to whip up. I wanted to use this chicken soup base to make some soup. So I will be making some gnocchi to go in that, and I found a pretty interesting potato flake recipe for it, and I wanted to give it a try because I don't keep a lot of potato in the house, but I almost always have a little bit of potato flake sitting around. So I am hoping that this recipe will be a nice little, you know, something I can just whip up whenever I want some. So I put in half a teaspoon of salt in 1 cup of, this is from the tap hot water. I don't want it to be too hot. It does call for boiling water in the recipe, but then it asks you to cool it off, so it's like, what's the point? So I am going to be using hot water from the tap, but that's it. Now to this I need to add 1 cup of potato flake. This recipe does come with weight measurements, so if you are interested in the weights, you can check the recipe down below. I am just getting potatoes everywhere. Okay, I get that in, give it a stir, and then get the rest of the ingredients going while this hydrates. I've already used that. Now in the bowl I need an egg, and I did not wash my egg before starting this, so I am going to get that washed. Now I am using a farm fresh egg, so I do like to wash them before I use them, just because I know where it came from. Oh yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, that's a little on the dry side, so I am hoping that has enough liquid in it. So this needs to be lightly beaten. That's probably good enough. Okay, let's add our potato. Okay, and then it calls for a cup of flour, but I'm not sure that that's going to take a cup of flour. It does call for a little extra flour for dusting. Now, kind of like a lot of shortbread things, the least amount of mixing possible is what's going to get you a light and fluffy product. Yeah, that is really dry. I don't know that that can take another half cup of flour. Might be able to take a little bit more, but probably not another whole. Okay, let me get a little bit more in there. Maybe I will be impressed. Maybe this can actually take it, but okay, here's another half cup measured. Let's see what it ends up taking. Now obviously there are factors that will dictate how dry everything is and how much water it takes, but okay, so I am probably overworking this, honestly, but I don't want to put in too much flour. It looks like it will take it all. I am impressed. Let's get this out of the bowl. I'm trying to knead it gently. I don't want to overwork it. If you overwork it, it can become dense. So it just depends on how you like your gnocchi. Okay, I am going to split this in half and get a little flour for dusting. And then I need to roll this out into a log. Should probably get a real knife for cutting it, but roll it out into a log and then just cut it up into your little gnocchi pillows. Okay, it might work better to cut it into thirds. This is awful big. Don't want to overwork it, but well, I think I have overworked it, but I'm going to get this tidied up a little. Okay, now that that's out of the way. Okay, so I think we're aiming for about the diameter of your thumb-ish, obviously. So we're going to go like that. Okay, so I think a quarter recipe would probably be more than enough to do this pint of soup. I'm going to dust this lightly with a little flour. That will also help thicken the soup. So this little coating of flour on the outside, which would hopefully prevent these from sticking, will also help thicken up the soup. I think I smushed them together before I got the flour on them. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I will shape up the rest of these and then I will get the soup going to show you how that is all coming together. Now I'm going to put in a small amount of water just to give it a little rinse and bring it up to volume just a little bit, but I will be adding some cream to this, either half and half or heavy cream, whatever I feel like opening, and then I will get it going. So maybe 2 tablespoons of water, just enough to kind of give this a little rinse, get some water in there, start heating that up. Okay, I'm going to put these in and get them going. Try to separate them a little bit. Now they will supposedly be done when they float, but there's an awful lot of stuff in here. I don't know how well they will float. So I think it's like 3 to 5 minutes. We will see. Yeah. Trying to not break them up too much either. Alright, well they appear to be puffing up and floating, so I'm going to call that done. I did turn the temperature down, and I'm going to get some half and half in there just to get the creamy aspect of it. Probably put in about half a cup or so, and that should make a nice creamy soup. smells great already, so I can't wait to try this. So because this was from a can, this is already pre-cooked. I don't have to do any more than just, you know, cook the gnocchi and make sure that the soup has been heated through. So I got that on low. We're going to do a quick tidy up. I'm going to dish this up and show you how it looks. So this is the hearty chicken soup, and it turned out very nice. There are lots of different ways you can use this. You can use this to make chicken pot pie. You can use it to make this nice gnocchi soup. You could even add in noodles and just make it a chicken noodle soup. You don't have to add in the cream or anything. It really just depends on what you want to do with this, as a soup base or as a chicken pot pie base. It is a very versatile, multi-use recipe to have in the pantry. I really enjoyed it. I do think it could use a little bit of pepper, but it came together very nicely. It tastes wonderful, and I'm planning on making some more. So I hope you found this video useful. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'll have some other videos up at the end that you might also enjoy, and I will see you next time on the Aerogarden Homestead.